Welcome, specialists, coaches, dads of kickers, moms of punters, relatives of long snappers, and dogs that chat kickoffs to the Iceman Kicking Podcast. It's the show with cold questions and even cooler guests. We're here to talk about the ins and outs of special teams and specialists, and I'm your host, Brett Kelling. We've managed to pull the strings here and get UCLA special teams coach Will Rodriguez out of his busy schedule to talk to us for a while. A little bit about Will Rod. Uh, During his time with the Rams, he worked alongside Jim Fossil uh, and helped improve the kicking game with Pro Bowlers Greg Zuerlein and four-time Pro Bowl punter Johnny Hekker at Oregon State. In 2016, the Rams special teams unit set NFL records for punts down inside the 20 and single-season net punting average of 46 yards. When Will got to UCLA, he helped improve that unit from 116th in the nation to number 27 in the nation in special teams efficiency in 2019. How's LA treating you today, Will?
LA's actually treating me pretty good. Definitely, I wake up to a nice, warm, sunny day. A little bit warmer than it's been. Obviously, summer is really kicking here in the valley where I live currently. But definitely enjoying the time to spend some time with the family a little more than usual, which obviously in the coaching profession, it's definitely a blessing to say the least.
Yep. Yeah, you got a pretty rowdy household there, so it sounds like a fun time. Hey, before we get into anything, let's have a word from our sponsor real quick. This show is brought to you by The Kicker's Bible. The Kicker's Bible. Do you want to learn the ins and outs of kicking from NFL specialists, organize practice schedules for in-season and the off-season so you don't overkick, how to get a full ride scholarship offer, the perfect long snapping technique for tossing a 6'5" ball on the hip every time? This book provides specialists with the ultimate guide containing everything necessary to find success as a specialist at the highest level. Brett R. Kelly combined over 10 years of experience as a player and coach with countless hours of research to develop this handbook of the greatest collection of proven technique tips used by college and NFL specialists and coaches all in one place. The Kicker's Bible is a must-have for both players and coaches at every level who want access to information essential to perform and teach at the best of their ability. Go to IcemanKicking.com to get your copy today. This is the Iceman Kicking Podcast with Coach Will Rodriguez. Will, welcome to the cold seat. All right, so before I was doing my research, and I heard, it was something you were very proud of to find Greg Zuerlein at the Division II level. Talk to us about, how did you find him and what that evaluation stage was like?
So definitely, I try to make sure I do a very good due diligence of my evals of college from looking at every single specialist who's a senior, or at least guys who get elevated as juniors who are coming out, as well as their counterparts in the lower divisions. One of the biggest things that, obviously I do is with those guys is grade them all the way through from the junior year and see what their increments of how they gotten better, they got worse, are they stronger and whatnot. But one of the things about Zuerlein that definitely piqued interest was leg strength, accuracy, and two kicks that I had to look back at. He had 258s in his senior year. Now, one of the things that us specialists know is coaches don't like kicking past in the 50s, generally, unless it's an end of game situation. Not saying we can't do it, it's just they're worried about field position, which is totally understandable. But his two kicks were in the middle of the first quarter, which is pretty rare in terms of just a team saying, let's go and do it. And he made both of them. Now, it was definitely a very tough eval because the two top guys that in that class was Zuerlein D2 and Blair Walsh in the SEC. So you're thinking of who you want to go with and whatnot. And one of the things with that I was asked by our GM, who's currently there, Les Need, he said, are you worried about if you can handle the bright lights and the sounds of a bigger stadium? Because a D2 ball generally it's not that big, not that loud. And I was like, well, if we're about the sounds and the lights, then he's a little bit kicking, because when you're truly locked in, you don't hear anything. And with that, passed my stuff on to Coach John Fossil. He evaluated him, got to know the kid, did a few workouts with him, and next thing you know, we had drafted him in the 5th round. Sorry, excuse me, 6th round. And now he's just got reunited with him now in Dallas, coincidentally. So obviously loves the player, and he's going to do great things from out there.
Man, I firmly believe that. And that's really cool too, because yeah, that's definitely something, I was at Division II school, and I know that you also played at Lindenwood, right?
Yeah.
Which is a smaller school. So that's definitely something us small school guys here, is that, you're not equipped to deal with that, the pressure of a big situation. But obviously, I mean, he was more than ready for that. So that's an awesome evaluation that you went through there.
No, absolutely. And I pride myself in finding that rare talent, because everyone thinks, well, I didn't get that scholarship to go here. I didn't get to go here. It's like, look, if you put in the right scheme, you do exactly what you need to do, and you make your kicks, make your snaps, make your punts. Players will be found in the NFL. When I was over at Azusa Pacific, I brought in pro punt, which in college football, it's absolutely unheard of because of the rules. And I understand the rules. It gives them more leeway to be more of a cover scheme, less of a protection scheme. And by putting my player Matthew Orzech in that scheme as a senior, he actually got a contract to Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's now in training camp in year 2. So another D2 player who got missed is now playing in the NFL because he was found.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and because you found him too, not just anyone, but you. It's funny, I heard Brett Kern talking about that same thing on the 4th down experience. He went to Toledo, and he was saying, all these kids are so set on a Power 5 school. Well, really what they need is someone to believe in them and to give them an opportunity to succeed and play for a couple of years, and then they'll, like you said, if you're a dude, if you're a player, they'll find you at any level of the NFL. So that's awesome. I really love that story. You're already spitting some great knowledge here, but let's take it back a little bit before I get ahead of myself. I want to talk about your journey and your journey to the pros, and then where you're at today. Talk to me a little bit about what got you into being a specialist, and then special teams in general.
So me, originally as a specialist, I was originally, like most kickers, I was a soccer player. So I kicked 1 year in high school, then played in college, mainly for soccer. My freshman year, got a scholarship to play soccer at Lindenwood. Then I ended up walking on and playing football over there my next 3 years, and just going through the process. Been very grateful for my parents to set me up with the right people in terms of training. Got to meet a lot of great people in the business, like your Louis Agars. I got to meet Jeff Wilkins, Donnie Jones, a lot of Rams specialists, mainly because of family ties with the Rams at the time. Got a chance to really grow up and learn from those guys, and just get different exposures of how they train, what they do, what's different, and just hearing different personalities say different things. But at the end of the day, I gravitated to like what is the core things of what we are all about. And not everything works for everybody, but a lot of things do. So it's like taking pieces of a puzzle and trying to create your own deal. So got to do that in college. Got a job with the St. Louis Rams right out of college. Worked in personnel. Did some seasonal stuff prior as an internship, just kind of get my feet wet, kind of learn the business. Ended up playing 2 years of arena football, which was definitely different. And I always joke, like the only thing that's affected kicking this league is how strong the AC is in there. Now, obviously, it's a little different now with most of the leagues are no longer around, but got a chance to do that. Worked my way through personnel, learned a lot of different things from many different great special team coaches. Al Roberts, Coach Ligashevsky from Illinois, who I keep in contact. He was a Rams coach as well too. So also Tom McMahon just got a chance to really learn a lot of different ins and outs of the way that they conduct their business. And then when Jeff Fisher got hired, he brought in John Fossil, and then that same period, Les moved me over from a scout over to a special teams analyst. So obviously, analysts in pros is much different than college. Obviously, college is not a coaching position. At the time, it was not considered that until I got a chance to really get to know Fossil, learn what he wants, what he's looking for, what type of players he's looking for. So I would literally watch every player in college football and give them basically grades on how are they on punt, how are they on kickoff, how are they on the return phases. And so I grade out probably about 3,000 players a year. Everybody is under my scope. So I'd be watching all your guys over at Marshall and say, who's your top dog? And I would watch them all. And then at the end of the day, when the grades come out, like, okay, stacked, who you like better in special teams? And not that guy always gets bumped up higher because, in this business, in special teams, those guys give you more value, and those guys are the guys who are going to be in a bubble for travel.
Tell me real quick, Will, before you keep going on, how did you grade out 300 guys? I mean, sometimes I have, a hard time just picking up on, finding the weak spots of a special teams unit. What was the way that you distinguished? Were you looking for the best guys, or, how did you go about it?
So really more or less went through, say, all of like UCLA's film or all of Marshall's film. I'll go through every game of the junior year, see who stood out. Now this is before Pro Football Focus and so forth, where they had the stats for you. So I did it back in the archaic where I had to hunt and peck for guys and try to strain my eyes all day long, trying to find jersey numbers and figure out, okay, well, his number is different, and they have the same number. Who's taller? Is his socks different? Is his towel different? It's definitely difficult. Would be in the office probably from like 18-hour days, give or take. And it's just trying to see guys how they played, but also in the same sense, try to figure out what scheme they're playing. Because on kickoff, who's a ball hawker, who's a fit and fold, who's a safety, who's contained, and then try to depict, okay, he changed. What different what was this? Was he hot one? Was he hot two? Or just trying to. It was definitely a pretty crazy ordeal trying to figure all that out. But at the end of the day, scouting is really just an opinion-based thing. And if you felt that he fits the mold, plus also for the linebackers, no one sees how fast they really are on defense. So if I'm seeing one kickoff, then I can give them like, okay, this guy's a hitter. You're going to travel taking 6 linebackers a game. These 3 are going to be your team's guys. So it was definitely a big ordeal trying to navigate through that, trying to navigate through special teams game plans each week, watching all the specialists at the end. It took time, but you know what though, if you love what you do, then you'll do it basically all day long.
Exactly. I was about to say that too. If you love doing that, it doesn't feel like a job, right? Okay, so
Absolutely.
And the other thing too I want to hit on is like, you really embodied that grind of interning, and a lot of people have to do it. I mean, I'm doing it right now, but I love hearing that where you were a specialist and you played at a small school, but you had to work your way up, and that's normally what it takes. A lot of these kids, come out of college and they want to coach at the highest level, but they don't understand the work you have to put in. I'm sure you were putting in long days, especially when you started too, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, before my wife and I had kids, I mean, I would be in there from like 4 a.m. till 10 o'clock. And that was before I got into the coaching aspect, which I mean, I'll laugh about it now, but after a game on Sunday, I would literally be in the office probably about 3 a.m., which means I really wouldn't leave after we got back from the road game. I'd basically sleep for 2 hours, wake up, build the grading plans, build the depth chart, build the skeleton of the next scanner report, and kind of get ready the next phase. Like say, if you're going to coach punt on Monday, after you do a quick synopsis of the game, but the game gets in, then you're starting getting that part done, and then coach has a chance to look through that, and then you're moving on to the next phase. I mean, people think like, wonder how coaches age so fast. It's like, well, I'm living it, and like I can see that some things change because your lack of sleep, lack of time to do anything else. But I mean, anything that you love to do, you do. But I was trying to thought, but yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I mean, people ask me, why did you leave the NFL to go to D2? And me, I was trying to get in coaching, and I've been in the NFL for so long that I didn't realize that I passed the limits of being a GA, which is usually you just wait till you be a coach in college football. So I knew I was not going to get a job right away as an analyst, regardless of where I came from. I had to go down to D2, and I was like, well, where can I go to that I don't have to move for a D2 job and a lower paying job? And I was very fortunate that that Azusa Pacific was close enough, long drive, but close enough where nothing changed. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm very familiar with Azusa Pacific. I'm from Central California. So, yeah, talk to me a little bit about your time there, kind of briefly. You go to Division II. I mean, it seems like a big risk, but you end up turning a long snapper into an NFL caliber long snapper. Talk about your experience there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely get I mean, it's funny. I would always watch tape from them, just kind of seeing it throughout the years of guys that have that our scouts have liked, and like, wonder where that is. And then I fast forward, I'm like, oh, that's where it is. Okay, it's literally about an hour and a half drive from where I live, one way, and get a chance to meet Victor Santa Cruz out there. Definitely great coach, even better person. Just learning the culture of the school and being a part of it, and knowing that my biggest role as a special teams coach is to revamp what they have, and not just revamp, but I like to call it more as you're building onto what's already in place, because if you try to revamp completely, first year's gonna be tough out of the gate. But I knew out of the gate, looking at just places generally, I mean, small schools don't have generally the resources to do certain things, so you have to be very creative of how you conduct yourself, how you build your unit, how you preach in terms of the culture and everything else that you want to have in place. And the one common theme that a lot of young players look for is NFL, while playing NFL. And I was like, well, I was fortunate to be with the Rams. Coach Fossil gave me plenty of tape to help me get me started. Now, a lot of it I had to kind of build things on my own in spreadsheets to kind of draw pictures, because, I mean, wish he gave me some more film, but there's certain things coaches just aren't going to give us. I mean, it is what it is. But the players love knowing it's like, okay, we have Rams special teams practice film. That's what they're doing. And at the time when I left, we were just number one in the NFL in all aspects through Rick Goslin's grading scheme, which is the baseline for the NFL. So I knew just using that alone, guys, first off, are going to gravitate towards that. But I mean, in terms of the buying with the players, I love to develop them as players and not just put them into a scheme just because it's easy. Because I like to get them drills, give them some scenarios of what's more realistic. So when they do it, they're like, okay, coach, I saw a slightly different on kickoff because this happened. I was like, okay, so let's go through tape. Tell me what different that you felt for this drill, and we'll adjust it accordingly. So then we're getting more reps on something like a strain tackle, something that happened more often on kickoff. It's like, okay, let me take this drill and let me tweak it just enough so it gives us that more realistic look of how we can maybe it definitely make you more efficient.
Yeah, so you got input from them too, right? So they were invested in the drills.
Oh, absolutely, because that's one of the things out of the gate that I always go by about not just basically being dependable and the culture, but look, everybody's coachable, even myself. And just I'm like, look, I'm a young coach too. There's certain things that I'm as than you are, but you are the one who's playing the game. So I have a great baseline of what I want to do. If there's something you feel differently in the game that this drill didn't quite work right, or this drill was a little different, you want to maybe do better, I'm all ears. Let's hear it. Let's rep it at practice and let's see how it looks. Now obviously at the end of the day, if I still feel, you know what, I'm not a fan of the way that looks, then we'll not scrap it, but go back to the way it was and maybe try to find a different way to. And it's crazy. I ended up building a drill called the Ninja Drill, and it was like, what the heck is that? You're really teaching guys to really tuck and roll, hop up and go find work. It's like, yeah, I'm like, that happens more times than you think. You really train them to be ready to quickly adjust to a return. Because, I mean, you can call freaking return right, left, vertical, the damn coming vertical regardless, but you don't know which way it's coming because anything changes. You watch the table in Austin, you know, over Virginia and with the Rams and Dallas, you don't know which way he's going. You know it's vertical, you don't know where, but you got to find him, and then you go find the next guy to block.
I love that. I love that because I've heard of some coaches recently doing drills where they start out turn the other way and then they flip and they got to find the returner. Same idea though. That's more realistic, I think, because you're on the ground. You know, you might have, I don't know, not avoided well and get thrown to the ground. You got to get back up and make a play. Is that the?
No, absolutely. And
no, good.
No, absolutely. And that's what we'll usually have the specialists kind of basically do the drill. So I would say, you're not really running. I just want you to take 3 hard steps in a direction to simulate which way you're going. And don't tell him which way you're going. Basically, go the minute he touches the mat. So he has no idea. He can't cheat the drill. It's completely spontaneous. And there are guys who try to think they guess one way, and like, oh shit, he has to adjust and get back into play. But that's what you're training them to get used to, adjusting on the fly, because in special teams, it's a completely organized chaos at its finest.
Absolutely. You know, there's something too that you just hit on, you know, talking about the culture. You've been in a lot of different places. And I want to know what have you seen, or what have you done that helps, you know, people get really excited about special teams? You talked about using Rams film at Azusa. What have you seen that helps people get energized for special teams, pumped up?
I mean, I know some coaches that are usually quiet, or some guys that are really rah. It's at the end of the day, look, just be yourself, have fun. If you have fun with what you do, it's going to be contagious. Guys are going to love the energy each day. But there's a lot of things in the culture that I like to do. I like to compete a lot. I like to have guys compete in practice, but as well in the games too, by giving them points. With also that I use at Azusa and use UCLA is like a 500-point club board of knowing, hey, how are we ranking ourselves in terms of who's the best special teams player, and you find yourself with like 4 or 5 guys who are like literally neck and neck in each level of points. If you're like tackles, knockdowns, lockdowns, and then obviously you naturally, everyone always counts the lowest, but I mean that's generally always, I don't put them in the score per se. I have them in the numbering system, so I'm really using more positive reinforcement, because if the guy sees a low, then he's like, oh, I messed up. But if you put it in points and you guys basically put it in points, you're like, okay, I'm better, I'm doing this, and then I'll have write-ups with the guys and I'll pass them out to them. I'll go through them quickly in my meetings or whatnot. But then, like, hey, anyone has questions, please come see me, and we can talk through every little thing. And in the write-ups, it's about being positive reinforcement and talking through stuff. So I put it in a way that is very positively reinforced and the guys see it and they actually respond really well, and they play that much harder. It's like, okay, dang, I was almost there. I need to maybe do my how rip by. Make sure you get across the pads. Anytime you get on the shoulder, it's 50-50. The ref's a human. I mean, you hope that he makes the right call, but so let's take the air out of it. Let's make sure we get across, and I'll make sure to put those words into guys so they understand. But going through that stuff, making tapes for highlights that guys don't even realize. Like I'll go through all Pac-12, all Big Ten, all other conferences, YouTube, you name it, anything that's popped up in terms of rule-wise. Let's learn from them. Let's not make the same mistake. And the guys really, really do enjoy seeing that stuff. It's almost like a comedy hour to a degree. It's in the beginning of a meeting, but the guy's like, oh, wow, that happened. I didn't know the rule. Oh, wow, I need to do that next time. But the thing is, we're learning from everyone else, so we do not make that mistake. Because like I've heard from countless podcasts, I think the gentleman who I just heard one for talking about the hidden yards, but those impact the hidden yards of just knowing the rules. Like if you catch the ball on the goal line and you're taking momentum steps, call it 2 steps going back, you legally can take a knee. But a lot of players don't know the rule, and a lot of coaches don't know it either. And they either don't know it or they don't preach it. So as players, you don't know, but so guys really love the fact that they're getting all this information, and you're making fun with it, but you're enjoying. You're actually making the unit fun for them, because everyone's like, well, I don't want to be on special teams. But at the end of the day, in the NFL, if you don't play special teams 3 core minimum, you better hope that degree basically gets good grades, because otherwise you're going to be over there finding a 9-to-5 job.
Oh, 100%. So what you're talking about just now is showing different situationals or bad things that are different things that have happened to other teams and learning from it, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy because I've been told before that that's a lot of work. I'm like, yeah, but when you see the fruit of your labor, I mean, just being able to give them the information so those don't change. I mean, you talk about big moves in the game. You're talking about the hidden yards. You're talking about special teams affecting at least 4 games of the year, and that could be our job for the whole staff. So you're talking about that. You look at the Washington State game. Not a lot of people saw that, but we had a kickoff and a punt return for a touchdown in that game. And you talk about just hitting yards and making the smart decisions, making smart plays, and then next thing you know, you're like, holy shit, we just made one of the biggest comebacks in college football history.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that was awesome too. And it's, as you said, it can be your job. So that's why it's super important. And one thing we were talking about earlier, the point system, do you do that in fall camp or throughout the whole system? I think that's very good to motivate players.
Oh, not so much fall camp, definitely throughout the season. Definitely throughout the season. Camp wise, you're spending more time myself trying to figure out body types, figure out the players' names, because I mean, like when I just got to UCLA, I didn't know anybody except for maybe 3 coaches, and that was it. So I'm trying to figure out everybody, just figure out the names, the sizes, the speeds. Each year, you and me are looking at even the next class. Where does he fit? If he fits, is he a freshman? If he's a freshman, he's got to play 3 core or more as a starter, or else you're thinking you might just put him on the redshirt list. I mean, depending on what coach wants to do later on. But it's just trying to navigate through that stuff. So even done some stuff as crazy as like Jeopardy, having groups of freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and having just a big old game of Jeopardy. You know what I mean?
With Jeopardy with special teams or special teams facts or what?
Special teams, all 4 core units, everybody.
And just what are the questions like in Jeopardy?
Oh, we've done questions of like moving, like being in LA, like Mexican foods, you got to spell the food, or random questions of like culture, LA culture, or you say culture, you have different questions or songs, and you're like, hey, guess that song, guess that movie. Just ways of getting just to have fun together as a group, as more along the lines of like a team bonding. Now, obviously, we'll see how it shakes out now with everything going on. We have to adjust accordingly, but I mean, just activities like that, the guys really enjoy it. They have fun.
Yeah, that's good. I'm seeing now how that creates a culture of enjoying special teams, and you kind of hit on my next point too. So, you kind of you were at Azusa and then you went to UCLA. Talk to me about, what is that like coming to a new place as a coach? How do you build connections with your players, with your specialists? How do you build that relationship?
I would say you basically just try to get another player. I mean, a lot of times, like I took this from watching Fossil for 6 years, of like how he talks to his players, how he looks at his players, how he just like really generally cares about them, and you see how players respond differently. Now, in the NFL, a little different because one guy this week, next week he's fired. So, but he has a family and kids. You're like, well, how do I navigate this? But college, obviously, we're not cutting the kid because obviously college football and NFL is different. So you can be a lot more personal with them. Definitely, like there's players. There's a freshman on a team that I saw running on punt. Like, holy crap, who's that guy? So then just the hallway, just start talking to him, just try to get to know him just as much as you can. I mean, obviously, try and be in life as much as possible. Try and be an influence, not just as a football player, but also give him advice as how to be a better man, how to be a better father, how to be a better husband. Just talking to them, and because they're looking to you just for advice in all aspects of it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And, I can remember from my playing days, really looking up to some of my coaches who, coincidentally I work with now. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. We'll go back and talk about your UCLA time. As far as punters go, you were with one of the greatest punters that have ever played in the NFL, and he's, you guys were together for, an extended long amount of time.
Yeah.
What did you learn from him and his mindset?
Just learn from him. I mean, it was crazy. Just like even watching him prior to him actually playing in the NFL, coming out of Oregon State, not teams actually knew about Johnny Hekker. He was actually considered to be only a camp leg for an NFL team. I'm not going to say who, but there's only one team that him and Adrian told me about wanted him as a camp leg, and I was like, okay. He was a rugby guy most of the time. He had 20 pro punts at his last 2 years of college. I was like, okay, let's grade him this way. Seeing, okay, he's directional. He's hitting 50 about 60 yards. He's incredibly high cut, long legs, long arms, big L hands, and he was a former quarterback. So like, okay, this guy's an athlete. So just kind of getting to know him through that, and then chance of actually work with him. I mean, young man freaking just works his butt off. Like, he wants to be there. He is systematic in his routine when it comes to like ball drop, punt pass, directional, creating like a grading system game in his charting. So he's making it more fun than just making it work. And then obviously like all specialists, I mean, we have to have our goof off time on the side and go play a game of tic-tac-toe. But obviously we got to be discreet with this because if the head man sees you, it's not a good look. And I'll be honest, one of the team meetings, they had the cameraman turn the camera. We're playing tic-tac-toe. I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing? And it's in another team meeting. Everyone's laughing like, oh, here we go. We can't do this for a while.
Yeah, you're the culprit there.
Exactly. And this, I mean, fortunately wasn't his rookie year, because that would have been awful if we're doing that his first year. But after he got, I would say year 3 is when those shenanigans start happening, because he got himself into a good position. But but one of the biggest things we always talked about, and it's very humbling, is his very first NFL snap against Detroit, where he literally dropped the ball after his first step before he kicked it, and drops it, picks it up, rockets this thing like a Scud missile. Obviously, hang time is so fast you don't even touch the stopwatch at all, and he ends up making the tackle. And it's like, okay, with this young man who's a Pro Bowl kicker, 4-time Pro Bowl kicker, and his first punt was this. It's like, okay, well, you know where you started, but that's not who you are now. But it's humbling to know your beginnings of like, look, you work your butt off, you develop yourself, you took great coaching, and the rest is history.
Well, yeah. I'm going.
I think he's got his contract renewed like almost every other year. Yeah, 4 years on it. So he's probably going to be kicking probably into his 50s, especially with his accuracy.
No, you're 100% right though, right? And I think it is inspirational to hear, how he almost or whatever failed or had some failure and then responded to that. That was my next question for you. From what you've seen, what separates middle to like average NFL punters from the great ones?
I mean, a lot of people like to say the player's ceiling, but there's been a bunch of players I've seen in NFL who you would think would have a high ceiling but never reached it. It's usually the guys that are more in the middle and they just keep working and you but it's really higher. But you're like, wow, this guy's really working his butt off. He's really getting better. I mean, there's a punter out of Wisconsin, I think it was Brad Norman, that thought pretty good. But I was like, I didn't know he had this caliber. It was like from at pregame, like, wow, you work your butt off, and his leg is a lot stronger than it was in college, especially when I'm looking at him and Hekker. But definitely, I would say it's more the work ethic. I mean, the guys who work their butt off, the guys who were the most humble, and as well as coachable, because there's some specials out there I happen to meet who are not exactly that mold, and you realize that those types of guys have to fit in the room because it's a unique group. Like even talking with Randy Brown on occasions. I've known Randy for years. Randy actually used to work with David Akers, who we now have his son now playing for us, who's just been a blessing to have him. And he works his butt off more than I thought he was going to. It was like, oh my Lord, this guy is really there's intangibles you don't really see until you really get them in the mix.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I know David too, and he's talked about you and how you guys have had a great connection. And I actually coached against his son last year in a game, and then we were able to talk and stuff too. But yeah, his son Luke, I mean, works his butt off. I mean, I've seen him, some of his workout videos, and he's shredded up. I mean, he's a workhorse for sure.
He's absolutely night and day from his senior year, and I thought his senior year when he worked for us, camping, because so like working guys out. I mean, obviously some people like seeing certain things, but I find myself more as a technician in terms of like the technique and say, okay, what technique works, what's flawed, what can we slightly adjust or tweak, and I knew him just coming in and kicking a few for us. It was like 3 or 4 kicks. I saw, like, okay, I'm sold. But then some kicks that they had might not have been the seller, but like, you know what? I find myself knowing a player because everyone's like, oh, I hear sound. Was the direction good? I'm like, there's certain things that are in place. You just need to coach the young man. Because it's like Hekker, he only had 20 kicks, pro kicks in the college his last year. He was a big rugby guy. Big rugby. He knew he had to coach that one out of him. So just knowing the intangibles and just blessed to have him out here. But the most important thing is a lot of these men. Some people look at college as more like work, play right away. Where can I we're gonna be winning every game. I mean, Kirk World loved that, but people don't realize school is really more a 40-year commitment than a 4-year commitment, because when you look at the number of players who come into college to play football, not all of them make it felt they want to, and I'm gonna do my darndest to develop them so I give them the best tools to get there. But at the end of the day, your degree is what's going to carry you for the next 4 years of your life, because they look at the paper like that's what help you your next job. The connections that you'll get just in every city that you're in.
Oh, no doubt. And you're at a fantastic school for that too. Hey, there's something that you're talking about earlier. I was interested. How do you make charting fun for your guys?
So we'll treat it more as a game per se. Obviously, the biggest thing that I have to be very alternative, and even with specialists, is a kick count. I got to know how many kicks that would do, and obviously I can't tell them what to do exactly. So I only leave so many spots to chart, and I'm like, okay, this is our chart for the day. This is what coach approved for charting. This is what we use, and that's all we're doing. So I'll turn to a game of like, hey, punting. Once we get our warm-ups in, however many each player needs, because it's all relatively different, we'll make it a point system. We'll basically say, okay, ball's going to be, if it's in the alley, it's 1 point. Alley is being top of numbers 2 hash middle field, that's -2. If it's bottom numbers to boundary, it's 2, and then 3 is to the chalk. But here's the kicker of it: it's got to be 42 yards or more.
I love it. Wait, to the chalk, you mean like on the sideline?
Exactly. So it's got to be 42-yard minimum with a 42 hang time, because you got to make sure you can at least catch it.
Right.
If they're caught, that thing's return to sender, and guess what? You just went from a punter to a football player making a tackle.
And no punter wants to do that.
There's, I would say, I think guys from San Francisco. He'll definitely, he's willing to make a tackle, but he's also a former rugby player too. So
Wisnowski, yeah, he's a big dude. Yeah, I spoke too fast because Johnny Hekker also 6'5", so he's not scared of anybody.
Well, I would say he's not, but hate to say it, there is a picture of him on YouTube where I think it's Cliff Averill was rushing a punt and then was acting like he was going to tackle him, and Hekker literally like cowered down to the ground. Hate to say it, it's on YouTube. Love Hekker to death, but that did happen.
Dang, Johnny, we're calling you out.
but he did have a legal knockdown on a player too, which you can push people to the ground, but for a cover. Same thing in college, you can do that. So
yeah,
definitely well within the rules. So hey, kickers are going to take shots when they can, and I'm maybe a former kicker. I'm going to do the same thing too, as long as it's legal.
Yeah, exactly. Coach it up as long as it's legal. Talk to me. Once you get to that level, I'm sure you become very comfortable in your form and technique, and I'm sure Johnny did. What is but the specialists, they're still human, right? What is something he struggled with and then worked on a daily basis to get better?
I would say the one thing that he's struggled on was punting to his left. And a lot of people were like thinking like Johnny Hekker, 4-time Pro Bowl, struggled with that. Like, well, it's just every punter's got a certain block. Every kicker's got a certain block of like, what do I struggle with? Do I like kicking in the left hash? Do I like kicking in the right hash? Like in the middle of the field? It's just trying to figure out what that block is and figure out how to work through each day and just to develop yourself and finding a way to adjust to being better at it. So I know he's done some stuff which is unique. Sam Cook's done it. Hecker's done it where he aims to his right, the returner's left, torques his body, and the ball goes right back to the left. And it's just realizing how to adjust to a situation, but not just adjusting to it. It's also coaching them through the point by like, okay, if you do this, what should I expect as a opposing coordinator? How can I game plan in a sense. So having to basically make yourself so universal that teams cannot get a beat on you.
You got your steps perspective and
with Matthew Orzic and Azusa, where we had to develop because he's never done pro punt, but I know a lot of snappers generally will always snap and they'll go to one side or the other very fast. And the one thing I've realized is when you develop your first year and just go back and just get depth, because if you have depth, you have time to let it just digest. You have great guards who are going to give you the protection you need. So just find ways to really help you adjust that. Because like watching Dallas, I want to say it's 2017, my last year of the Rams. I think it's 17, where we're watching Dallas and we're trying to figure out which way the snapper is going. What is the tell? Is it the gunners? Are they synced to a hash? Are they not synced to a hash? Are they synced to where his hips are? But one of the things that I ended up finding a total false about was the snapper. So the snapper would never line up straight through the ball. The ball would be, tilted to his left, and he would almost pull from one side to the other. So what ended up happening a lot of time is his body would always go to least resistance. So when he's pulling from left to right, his hips are always opening to his left, the return side right, so you know where it's side he's vulnerable from. And then you realize, oh wow, that's the gap that's always there. And he's done it probably over 85% of the time. So you're like, okay, you feel pretty confident in those types of things. And basically by the false attention, he drew a particular rush for that and ended up getting blocked that game.
Wow. That's awesome.
But you like see in the training aspect of it, you got to make sure that you train the guys for what they need to do, but not just what they need to do, also how to protect the scheme and not having tip-offs, because you want to keep the other coordinator guessing what's going on.
Right, you don't want to tip them off, and that's huge. I love hearing about the intricacies of noticing little things that will tip someone off here. Back to the original question, how did Johnny work on then hitting like a left directional? Like, was it just getting in the middle of the field and just hitting a ton of left directional balls or steps?
Oh, absolutely. It was more so out of gate first, ball drops, just getting that nice consistent ball drop. Worked from ball drop to punt pass, and then from punt pass then to full steps. Johnny was not a guy who would skip steps. He would really work the technique and make sure that he gets a good solid contact. Mm-hmm. Because one of the tough things that he's realized, and I hate to bring it up, I love Hekker to death, but he had I want to say the -5 yard punt on a rugby. So think of it as your rugby and you're pulling back across and the ball hits out your foot and goes the wrong way. So it's something that he knew about. He knew how to tweak it. He knew how to adjust it. He knew how to properly develop what he needed to do. But most importantly, he knew that he had a certain amount of kicks in his bag that day that he was going to use, and he would not go over that, because one of the things that he was really good at was making sure what days he's kicking, what days he's not kicking, because a lot of young specialists that I've known throughout the years don't realize you do not need to kick every day. There's other drills, techniques we can utilize throughout the week. And that's one thing my coach says, like, he's not punting today. And I'm like, he's only punting twice a week, 3 times on game day. Okay, well, you're the coach if you think it'll work. And then at the end of the year, it's like he had his best year of his career. But I had to do punts and kickoffs, so it's different.
Yeah, no, that's so important too, right? Because you see guys that are hitting, 45, 4 or 5 punts and just staying right on that, and then towards the end of the season, you see them start to tank because their body's just worn out. And I was going to get to this later. Like, what are some things that you guys would do instead of punting? I know there's dry runs, I know drop drills, stuff like that. What's something that you guys would do?
I would say definitely lots of drop drills. I really like to start with the hands. Just make sure that there's a nice usage of the hands when you're catching balls, not hitting like your hands made out of cement. Having guys like guys to use the jug as much as possible. You think, why is a punt using jugs? It's to get the hands, because you want to have the nice, smooth, precise catch, quick rotate of the laces, assuming they're off, and then you're off. Because if you're not used to being able to do that much, then you have guys both hitting the hand hard, it's bouncing, guys catch it, and when they spin it, it goes up in the air. I'm like, we don't want any risk of the ball being dropped. Well, you want to be as precise as possible. So we utilize those a lot with the specialists, ball jobs, lots of punt passes. Flexibility is a major thing for us, of just being flexible, because that really helps in terms of our ability to torque through a ball and have great follow through upon contact.
Did you guys do a lot of hip mobility stuff or hip strengthening stuff?
That's what stuff I actually left more to strength staff. Our strength staff does a great job in just what they do to get the guys ready in terms of strength in that world. Their stuff is generally built for specialists alone. It's not putting the guys on one workout program. It's every position has their own program, because obviously specialists are more of a pendulum, more of a leg swing. Quarterbacks are very similar because of the motion of the arm. Linemen and linebackers different, because obviously you're playing different positions. So we try to tailor our workouts to position needs.
No doubt, 100%. Yeah, and there's different things. My brother's a physical therapist, so I always go to him and ask him, what are different workouts where I can explosively strengthen, my hips, but in a motion that's the same as kicking or punting, What about, this is something I think is very important, to have like a mental cue or a verbal process, or something that you say to yourself each time. Is there something that, he would tell himself each time, or something that you guys would tell the specialists to tell themselves each time?
And like, in terms of like what they're doing wrong or need to adjust, is that kind of what?
Yeah, or just like a lot of guys. So like, I don't know if Randy Brown said it, but definitely like Shane Graham, they talk about having the process. Oh, John Carney's talking about, having a process that you go through. So you block out outside distractions. And some people might have a term that they tell themselves, like, I don't know, quiet hands, or lock the ankle out, or fall through to the right ear. Was there something that, he would tell himself to stay focused in the moment?
Yeah, like in terms of like kicking wise, like stuff I've noticed with most kickers, they generally don't lock the heel down before they take the side steps, like the toes down, but then the heel rotates enough, and then depending on what hash you're on, you might be too low or too high, and then you're obviously auto correcting, just like those sort of things. Like, I'll talk to our kicker about it in terms of making sure that he utilizes that. Situational stuff, like obviously every team handles getting ice differently. Some guys love standing field, some guys need to come off, some guys need just, there's certain things you just like, hey, let's just talk some bullshit and just get your mind completely off football together. Let's just talk about like golfing. How do you feel about this course today? How do you think Tiger played today? Just get his mind completely off of football for a minute. So it's like, okay, he's reset.
Yeah, you're able to.
And it's just help those guys with those types of things, just kind of like, look, at the end of the day, we're just playing a game. You don't know what to do.
Right. And that's kind of your role as a coach, right, is to help them get in the right mental state to perform at their best.
Absolutely.
I was watching, I was listening to David Akers talk, and he was talking about J.J. Molson and how well he'd done last year. And I actually pulled up some film here since the last time we were talking. Man, his kickoffs were ridiculous. I mean, he had such a live leg. Is that something he had when you met him, or how was he so great at kickoffs?
So with JJ, definitely the strength is a tribute to the kid's work ethic in the weight room. Like, he worked his butt off the summer before I got there. Watching tape on him previously, his leg was not as big. I mean, he obviously had it in him, but it just needed to work in terms of his steps and just catching the ball at the right spot. A lot of young specialists will like to over crunch and think that's what you need to do, get the ball up in the air, but you need to keep a higher chest. It's just working those things with him. And once we got into a very couple state, I was like, okay, let's see how you kick in both directions, both right and left. And obviously you want to be more universal, but in the scheme aspects, like we're playing Marshall, I hate him to be one-sided. So then, like, okay, the ball's going to my left. I can run a double three or whatnot. And scheme-wise, like, let's try to be universal. But with what he did for us in strength-wise, what was remarkable, and I was like, okay, I know we can contain this by limiting his reps on kickoff. So what was crazy was he didn't do a kickoff in practice after week 2.
Wow.
So you're thinking most of your guys were probably getting at least 15 to 20 kickoffs at least one day a week. I would have him do only just I think it was called. We were talking about only doing just walk-offs and just steps is what we have him do.
How many would he do per day? Like walk-offs and steps?
He would do maybe 10 or so, and it was just one day a week, and that was it. Then obviously when you go team, he would do just walk-offs. He would act like he's kicking one kick. We'd have a ball in hand, so everyone's still timing his steps, but we're saving his leg for the game.
Wow.
Which helps contribute to he was like 90% touchback.
That's amazing.
Which you want to pin him closer, but you know what? If we know it's a guarantee inside 25 at least, or at least 25, we'll take it in a week.
Oh my God.
Anytime hitting yardage, that's hitting yards right there, because most teams are going to return it to at least a 25 minimum.
Right. No, that's fantastic. I love that. Less is more technique, Is it, we already talked about how he repped it and stuff and how he kept his legs fresh. Was he better to the right than the left? Because the film I saw, I think, was against Cincinnati. I think everyone was directional right.
Yeah, he was definitely better to his right. We worked on going both ways, but it seems also if I didn't feel comfortable enough saying and giving my blessing to our coordinator that he's good to go to his left, then I just wasn't going to pull the trigger on it until I knew that he was going to put us in a good spot. And that's one of the things I was like, look, this is something that we need to work on, because as we get you ready for the NFL past this year, you have to work on this on the side. Now, we're not going to do this right now. We need to work on what coach wants, which is obviously he's going to his right all the time, all last year. And I was like, look, we're working this postseason. When the season's over, so we get you ready for the league. And because it's just certain things that like to tell coach and have us always reiterate is during spring ball is a time you can really tinker with your technique, adjusting certain things. Once you get in training camp, you want to fine tune that thing that you're doing. You don't want to keep tinkering. If you're tinkering in training camp, then you're not going to feel confident going into the season.
No doubt.
And like as a young kicker, like even in the recruiting process, like even talking to all the specialists, Luke included, is like, look, you'll be a freshman. You're looking for schools. You want to know you're in the best scenario possible as your investment for your 40 years of like school, football, education. We want to live new experiences. Everyone's got their reason for going where they want to go, but it was more like, look, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan. We want you to be perfect or at a gate, but in terms of being realistic, we're going to move in steps. Now, obviously, if your steps go faster, then we'll just accordingly. But we're never going to rush a player to develop. We're always going to develop him the way he needs to develop.
No doubt. Yeah, and you have a good basis for that, especially with your background. I was just thinking about direction-wise, hitting a kickoff. Do you normally find, in your studies, that guys they'll be able to hit the ball deeper to the left because they're really falling through with their hips, whereas to the right, you're not leaving your hips open to plant deep. But, talk to me what you think about that. What have you seen about that?
Well, definitely with me, I know going to the left, for me personally, it was always felt more comfortable because I felt myself able to really torque through it. So I'd aim it almost to the goalpost and really pull through that thing. But some guys, I mean, JJ's one of the guys that was able to put enough power going to his right. Now, granted, his ball definitely did have a tendency to have a little bit of fade to it. So if you're on left hash and you had that fade to it, that ball's in the middle of the field. And now you're covering all 53.5 yards instead of 26 and whatnot yards if you're directional. So there's definitely ups and downs with it. I know there's from where I came from, I like to always run returns with knowing I can return it both directions, right or left, with the same return without having to flip it or have a change call, except for saying, hey, it's a change call. You have a signal for it saying, hey, everything's just flipped. Same return, but flip it. But making it as easy as possible. But I've seen a lot of teams generally don't do that in college. I don't know if it's they don't trust players to do it. I don't know if they don't know how to do it, or if they're just trying to utilize the fair catch rule.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I see that a lot of teams only won one return or not. So obviously with JJ going always to his right, their left, teams generally always have a return going to the right and never left. So now they got to wrap a return to go away they're not accustomed to. So now you're kind of getting some inconsistencies.
Oh, no doubt. Yep.
It's different.
No, yeah, I've noticed that too, actually, at the college level, that it's normally just one directional, one way directional wise. So yeah, maybe it's because of that fair catch rule. Now you were with Greg Zuerlein too, who I remember, especially late 2000 or early 2010s, he made some huge kicks. Why was he able to be so good in pressure situations?
I would say it's more lines of just the way Greg just composed himself, just his psyche each and every day was basically, I'm just here to kick, here to have fun. I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna focus on this, and I'm not gonna put unnecessary conflict into myself if something doesn't go right, because there's always ways to make it right. And if you have something go wrong, you already have done it for so long, you know what to quickly adjust to be more efficient. Because even when he had the one down year 16 where he struggled with field goal, but a lot of it came down to I always thought it was more injury based, because his technique, there's stuff that obviously I've noticed. I'm only able to say so much. Obviously, me being in the position I was in, I'm not going to overstep my boundary and tell an NFL guy what to do, because that's not my place at the moment. I'll pass the information to obviously Fossil to obviously if he wants to say something, he will. If he doesn't, then I got to live with that. But Zuerlein definitely what was a hell of a worker. His ethic was unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's what I'm starting to hear is that at the end of the day, it's how much you put into it. You get a lot of specialists that are just here to kick or here to punt, but really it's that work ethic on the side that sets them apart.
And you definitely see that even with the young guys that are coming up through the ranks in high school, and then going to all those ranking camps, and you're like seeing who's really the guy, who's not the guy, who's got technique, who doesn't have technique, who trains, and most of all, who are they training with, who are they getting the information from, and then being able to replicate that, because we're only as good as our snappers and holders. And if you have guys who struggle in that world, it's going to be tough. Like watching high school tape all the time is like, okay, well, they had a bad holder or bad snapper, but in the camps he was phenomenal. What's going on here? And never to push blame on it, but I was going to a thumb is it's always the kicker's fault until the tape comes out the next day. Take responsibility. You got to adjust the kick is what it is, but it's always on you until the tape says it's someone else's fault.
Yeah, I love that. Because especially being a specialist playing at a lower level like Division II, we get holes that are all over the place. At the end of the day, it's like, I had to make those kicks, and I was able to do so. But That's actually pretty cool. I know you talked about on Brendan Cahill's podcast about a study you did in 2012 about holders missing a spot, and even by an inch or two, and it would change the result, right? Talk to me about that and any other studies you did that you found was interesting about special teams.
Yeah. So in terms of the whole spot, because it's inches as it's the cliche in football, and everybody always everything is fine-tuned out. Some guys don't like doing that at all. It's all relative of what everyone does. But if you look at just at way you line up, think if their steps are always precise, their heel's always right behind the ball, but the ball is behind a little bit, then you're going to catch that ball on the downswing as opposed to the upswing, or the ball's too close to your plant foot. Then you're literally going to be leaning harder to your left than you would if the ball was put closer to the holder, and vice versa. Then you find yourself being great adjusters as opposed to being great kickers. You are great kickers, but you have to always adjust. And that's what, and I was talking to a scout of mine with the Rams, who was at Georgia, who knew the holder, who was a punter at the time, with Blair Walsh. And Blair had an off year that year, which is kind of what made me a little worried. But at the end of the day, it's still your fault if you missed a kick. You got to find a way to make it. Inside 40 yards, you should be able to find a way to make that kick. But the ball was always being placed at different spots, because I would look at the hand. My eye would be trained to that spot. I run the tape, and the hand would be off by 2-3 inches in random directions. So there's obviously an inconsistency that I saw, which now you're putting more pressure on the kicker than it should be. And never want to blame anybody, but I mean, if you're a unit, you work together day in, day out, which is why I always love the specialist room to work as a unit, even with training for field goal, because obviously you're always together with your punters naturally. So that's one of the things I just kind of noticed by consistencies, and okay, how can we make this easier for the holder? And then also you talk about spots or whatnot. You talk about, okay, are we on a hash? Are we always on the top of the hash or the bottom of the hash? Never the middle. You want to pick a spot they can always find quickly. Obviously in the middle of the field, you're kind of at anyone's guess. You're hoping that there's a piece of white chalk paint that's on the ground. You can kind of maybe just put it on the ground and say, hey, that's part of the field. Yeah. I mean,
is that against the rules, or is that
technically, I would say it is, but how the game goes, a lot of that grass with chalk gets torn up and it kind of floats around the field. So you try to find ways to massage the rules, as you say. Obviously, you can't be hey, here, let's put it down here. You can't do that. Can't have a quarter. Can't have. You just try to work within the rules. I mean, even with snappers with Jacob Quaid, he'd always talk about how he can manipulate the ball differently by the way he grabs it, rotates it, but he does it in a sense of that's how he's adjusting the ball to, or his cadence. You do it enough times in the league that refs wouldn't know the difference. Now, obviously, he's trying to give his holder, Hekker, the right distance. Now he's trying to steal a yard, still a half yard, plus or minus, trying to find a way to make sure those laces come back perfect every time. So it's trying to find a way to work within the rules, because that's one of the things that I've learned, which is really interesting this year, is that if you do it in week 1 and there's tape of you doing this, then it's not illegal apparently, because that's the way you've always done it. There's already a statute you've already done already, which is interesting. But anything you try to work in, make sure you work it in early so that there's a history of it.
No doubt, and that's what a good coach does, right? He takes advantage of the rules, or make sure as long as it's within the rules. And it's almost like when I hear about the long snapper, it's almost like a pitcher, doctoring a ball a little bit, just part of his approach or his windup, to a pitch. I like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's different ways of adjusting things to your advantage. Just, honestly, people try to steal a base whenever they can. Sometimes you get away with it. Sometimes you don't. Obviously, you want to work within the rules, but we're all human. We all do things to get advantages when we can.
No doubt, 100%. Like I'm talking to you to learn from an expert in the field. So, um, talk to me about working with the new specialists. Especially kids nowadays. It's kind of a fine line where you want to motivate them, but also you want to build up their confidence. How do you go about working with a new specialist, and when are there times to really get after them and try to motivate them, or when to relax and be calm?
I would say definitely, like right now with me having all three of my guys graduate last year. So obviously brand new, fresh room, young guys, obviously very hungry, very motivated. Obviously not able to conduct the same business that we do in the past because of with the way the world is right now. But obviously knowing that they're going to do what they can to kind of put themselves in the best position possible to be the starter. Now, obviously that's going to show up real quick when we do get back to training with the team of like who's the top dog, who's not, and knowing that there's certain things you can do with players and things you can't. I've never been a fan of dog cussing players out because I don't feel that it gets them motivated. Obviously everybody's got their own philosophy and way they feel that it works. I've never been a fan of that type of way to get them going. Maybe a specialist too. Usually there's, hate to put specialist in this category, but usually when we get yelled at, we kind of either basically say something that's not you should say, or you just go into a ball and like, can you just like go quiet? So like the way I've always talked to my guys in the past is that obviously if you miss a kick, I'm not getting on you. That's not me. Specialists I feel need time to kind of like stew, to be like, okay, dang, I missed that. And then give them a couple minutes, and then I'll come over and say, hey, what did you do? And say, oh, well, I did this. Like, okay, so you did. How can we correct that? So it's like, okay, let's motivate you positively without putting you to a funk. Because like you've seen specialists like Mason Crosby. I think he missed 4 or 5 kicks in the game. Most kickers are getting fired, but coach over there did a great job by at the end of the game, even though the score was what it was, he kicked a short field goal, got him that confidence. The first thing you see, the starting quarterback came over to congratulate him, and just like, look, guys are gonna have bad games, but you gotta find ways to probably motivate them and give them confidence. Like, hey, we trust you. You're our guy.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's 100% true. As a specialist, we both know that, yeah, you need some time to yourself to kind of just let the emotions cool down. And then it's like, how do we fix it? That's, something I kind of forgot to ask you about, but I'm dying to ask you going, forward. You talked about, working with these guys who are professional specialists, and how did you go about, gaining their trust? Obviously they saw the work you put in, but how did you gain their trust?
It was more along the lines of working behind the scenes first, because obviously it wasn't my place to go just talk. Because obviously, like with Coach Fossil, it was more along the lines of like, he's the guy. Everyone knows, everyone trusts him. So I'm gonna work within what I know, because Fossil is a great scheme guy, great knowledge of special teams and trickery and all this type of stuff. He looked at me to learn his craft, learn what he's doing, learn and find ways to critique that. But then he would say, hey, what do you see differently with the kicker? What did you like? What you didn't like? If he misses, what would he do? So I would give him my information. And then once the specialist basically saw him get the information, then he would then say, yeah, Will's been kind of beat on about this. So I used him as a soundboard so I can at least handle it properly by like, I'm not gonna be this cocky arrogant coach be like, I know what I'm doing, but I'm still young to field. I'm still trying to gain my trust with the players. And then once that started, then it's okay, we're good. We'll watch this. What do we see? So it took that type of critique to kind of get those guys comfortable with me and used to me.
Oh yeah.
And it took probably about 2 years, but it's like, you know what? Anything we're doing is we're doing right. And the last thing that I was going to do was go behind Pulse's back and just go tell them what to do, because it was not my place.
Yeah, 100%. You got to understand your role, and yeah, that makes total sense. I like that. You know, something I was kind of interested from a scheme. You're talking about scheme here, is you know, at the college level in punt block, how do you organize your punt block team? I know a lot of teams will do, like, you know, at the very start of camp they'll have outside, inside, and hold up guys. How do you like to organize your groupings and then evaluate from there?
Yeah, honestly, groupings are more along the lines of buy type, because obviously there's different scenarios that you'll see. Some teams like having a lighter punt team. Some teams have a heavier punt team. Some teams are pro punt, and then you have to realize, okay, well, pro punt is the same as shield to a degree in the guys who are eligible. First off, knowing who the eligible guys are, then okay, how do we conduct business here by, like, obviously getting the wings covered in pro punt, like Arizona State, and not giving up the quick pitch to the PP, and he has a dive. So just trying to figure out, one, what other buy types, and then build the return off that itself. Obviously, it took some time, and just to coordinate that whole deal. Obviously, it's definitely a process. It took a lot of tape watching, a lot of consistency, and writing down numbers of players who were in a certain spot consistently. So when I knew that, then I knew right away I can do this with this. Okay, once that personnel down, how can I cover down the way I need to? How can I draw a block looking like a return? But one of the biggest things that learning with John Fossil was, at a gate, we were trying to build a punt block unit, but having tape on it, like, we realized we got a stud back here. Let's put more emphasis in the return game. Now, obviously, that changed once we lost Tavon, and then obviously using Corey Littleton as more and more in the block game. But just like with Phillips, you want to return the ball if you can, but you always got to go in with 2 or 3 blocks that you can play off that in terms of the technique and how it all works out. It's just knowing how to cover down, knowing different formations, repping different formations, knowing which guys you want to adjust with who you don't want to adjust. You got to change it up with certain personnel, so guys think, oh, this guy is an adjuster. This week it changed, because you got to keep it offset. So it's trying to stay on top of everything, and then knowing the fact also, when you play teams who are big elephant shield guys, big O linemen, you got to know, are they going to run the ball? How are we going to adjust to covering down on 3 guys weighing 300 pounds and tackle a punter? It's trying to coordinate that. It's definitely an undertaking, but it's always a challenge that I've always enjoyed going against. Like some great names, like obviously John Baxter, Whittingham from Utah, Slocum, who, it's funny, I've known him for years, because when he was in the NFL, I mean, he called my name the first time I walked out there. I'm like, oh, I'm like, I miss pro punts. He's like, yeah, I enjoy running here. It's different, but he's like, I enjoy running pro punt. Like, and then he told me his scheme. Like, okay, he is obviously very arrogant. I love it. But every coach is arrogant, though. I mean, everyone's got their flavor of, like, I know what to do, and you can't stop me because I know exactly how to utilize it. Like, okay, I welcome the challenge.
Yeah, I also respect it too. You know, there's a certain boldness to that. So in the past with your guys' pub block, then have you been more of a heavy team, or like more of a speed team?
I would say we like to be pretty balanced. Now, obviously, each year is different. It's pretty unique. If you have bigger linebackers, you have more 3-4 guys. You have more D linemen in the game playing more as 3-4 guys. I mean, every year is going to be unique. I would say, let's say we're definitely more middle range last year. This year, I know we had a lot of big linebacker core. So, but they're big too. So big and fast, which is always great. I'll take fast any day of the week,
All day.
especially in these worlds. But I mean, it's always a unique challenge. Look forward to training camp to see really how the new guys run and seeing, okay, where can I use this guy? Who's someone I can trust? Who's smart? Who's the adjuster? You want to have multiple guys always, but it's always unique here.
Oh, no doubt, and especially this year, like, you know, going forward, like, are you just gonna have like a huge group of them then, or it's because you're gonna have to evaluate very fast, right? What personnel you have.
Absolutely. I mean, and we're seeing how it's going to shake out, and when we get to start, when we actually get to have eyeballs on the guys. I mean, it's one of the things I've always learned is who's always your core guys that you trust, who are big and fast, and then you have a list of guys who are smart, who can really adjust, who are fast. Because like in the NFL world, you can have enough personal protectors, but you also got to be smart too, and have those guys play the wings. So you got to have at least 6 guys in that world. So in the same sense, also you're looking for that 6 to 7 guys who be that mold, not just that mold. They also got to be that size. And to the game plan, it always changes because some teams like running the ones outside, some like running inside, some like running 4 big guys randomly. Some teams have random calls. They'll have a number system, and they'll just yell 4 numbers, and whatever number you are, you're rushing, and everyone's just holding up. So everything's relatively different in how you want to run it, but just big thing is just knowing your men and just put in the right spot and go and play ball.
Yeah, and let them play fast. All right. Last year, did you guys see a lot of 3-man shield stuff or 2-man shield? How was it on your guys' schedule?
I would say most of it was 3. Most of it was 3. There was, I want to say 2 or 3 pro punt teams. So I love going against pro punt because I know how to isolate that quickly, and most of the schemes I can figure out pretty fast. It's just obviously it's always going to be the head man calling, saying when you want to go for block, because obviously anytime you go for block, there's risk of running to the punter, just like the same thing as you're risking every down rushing the quarterback. If you hit him a second too late after the ball's thrown, it's relatively the same risk, but obviously it's different to a degree. But it's just knowing which teams are running which schemes, so then okay, I got to build a return team, 2 return teams, 3 block teams, and 2 D-State teams each week, and then get that to the coordinators, so they're able to get that in their meetings. So because I have no idea how it's a marshal, but just time for special teams is so limited, so you try to maximize what you can.
Oh, no doubt. We are lucky here that we have Coach Holiday, who loves stressing special teams, and that's something I love about him. But yeah, places I've been before too, it's like you got to get this in a certain amount of time. Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. Do you guys on your kickoff coverage stuff? How do you group your guys then? Do you have like a big group that you go out in, or do you try to divide them up?
I would say, big thing on kickoff, I hate to use the word headhunter, but you have to have the mindset of reckless abandonment, because you're running at full speed and you got to take a shot. I'm very happy they changed a lot of rules with the no wedge. The day when they take out the drive-by. Never been a fan of that. Never been a fan of trap blocks, just because of those blocks are so inefficient. But when they do, the chances of getting concussions is pretty high. Mm-hmm. Some players that 2 years ago to on that, and you can train this all you can, but it's one shot they take, and they're and they're out. And by no means do I ever want to train to ever teach those techniques, because I feel that you shouldn't train a guy to do something you only put your own son through. So in retrospect, I still got to train him how to deal with it and how to adjust to that being used against you, since it's technically still a rule. I mean, there's been plays where guys are out cold, out to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one guy I watched a couple years ago from Kentucky, Western Kentucky. Can't remember his name, but he hit a player so hard for kickoff coverage, it dented the kid's face mask.
That's crazy.
It's a violent phase, to say the least. But I mean, how you group the guys, I mean, you obviously got to group them accordingly. A lot depends on who you have, who can run, who's fearless, and what scheme is that team running. Are they running a man middle, or are they running a tag 3 trap 5, or are they running a counter? Are they running back? I mean, obviously, all sorts of things differ on who you want to put in there that week. Obviously, do you want all your team that rotate safeties? Do you like to change them up? Do you like to play them at the 5-4-3, or you play them only at the 1 and 2? It just depends each week on personnel, who's up, who's down. And that's always a fun discussion that me and the coordinators always get to have. Like, okay, who is more in the game next week? So if I need to pull them out or get them out last reps, who do I need to adjust for you guys? And it's always a friendly debate, but it's part of the game. Just trying to make sure I get ahead of the ball, so I don't play the wrong guy in practice and lose reps on someone who needs to be in there instead. I'm like, okay. But make sure depth too, because there's times where I've switched that depth so, like, at least on 7 guys, and if you move one guy, as you probably see in your career, you move one guy, you really move 4, because now it just really, like, okay, he's not as good as the other guy, but I need to actually help cover him up a little bit. So how do I? It's a game of just shuffle.
Right, and you could be there for hours, right, trying to reimagine what the depth chart should look like. Do you normally keep like 3 or 4 deep during the season?
Generally, I'll keep at least three or 4. Hopefully, not getting too deep. Generally, I carry an array of everything in the field. I mean, I'll carry that. I'll carry depth, carry all depths, all the returns, all the rushes. The opponent does what's their bread and butter. So if players ask our coach, like, hey, what was different on that? Did they run this return? Who trapped you? Who came across? Who double teamed you? And they can look at the cards, say, he didn't do it, he did. Like, okay, everything's the same. That's adjustment. Okay, boom, thank you, all good to go. So now we know right away. Since we don't have pictures, if I have the correct cards and do my work the right way, I can utilize that to get the information from them fast. From our coordinator. Coordinator's like, here, who's different? Okay, we're good.
Oh, that's
Or who's safety? I mean, it's a jungle. It's a jungle. It's a charade to figure this stuff out. But you got to be quick on the ball. You got to be on it. I think it's more crazy than trying to figure out hands, team, and what's on side at the end of the game. When you win the game, you're like, oh crap, who's in? No double numbers, please.
yeah. No, but I love that too. I think that's what makes a great coach, is that ability to react in game and be able to figure out. That's something simple that coaches can do to make sure they're on top of things that are always changing during the game.
No, absolutely. I mean, I had to rewrite 2 returns in a couple games because the one return that we used, they changed a kick. They changed a pass. It's like, oh crap. They got to draw a complete new return. Something similar to what they did already. Like, say, hey, look, let's run this. Simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1. Boom. Good. And it's like, just got to know how to adjust. It's like, I mean, it's funny. Coaches, you want to be calm, but you're always in conflict. You're not a hysterical, like going batshit crazy, but you're always in some sort of natural calm, even though you really like freaking the heck out.
No doubt, no doubt. That's funny. Man, this has been so great for me, man. I've learned so much. Um, one question I had is more on a personal level, and something I always think about. What do you do to make sure that, like, during the season, or even in general, that you're, taking time out for your family, or making them feel cared for? Because you put in hours, like this profession, you're going to put in the time. How do you make them uh, feel cared for, make time for them?
No, absolutely. I would say definitely in the off season for the most part, coach does a great job by keeping it hours to a good moderate spring hours. Basically, just make sure you get your work done and you go. You don't go bar your desk. Spend as much time as you can, because come season it's crazy. But in terms of families, it will come at any time. Basically, say if they want to come for practice or come for dinner. Obviously, you can work, but you're like, hey, I'll get an hour. I'm gonna spend time with family. They'll have dinner with me. They'll go home. I may stay another hour longer, but you're trying to get that hour more than you would normally, which has definitely been a blessing. And I know we're in that unique situation now where, like you guys are going back tomorrow, and we're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. But I'm utilizing this time now that I would be normally at the office is I'm spending time with the family now. So just getting the chance to catch up on lost time, because I mean, like you don't realize that your kids grow fast. Like good Lord, where did time go? Like I remember when she was an infant. Now she's freaking 8. It goes fast. You try to play catch up with all this stuff, but and talking to Foss about it years, because I know like he was a son of a coach, Jim Fossil from the Giants, and like I was like I completely jumped into coaching again. I'm like, how did you do this, and how you navigate this for you? And he gave me some great advice of like basically taking as much time as you can. Obviously, he's like, look, I like to go in early. I like to knock it out early. I'd rather give up my sleep now and have the afternoon available for my kids than go in a little later, sleep in, and then I lose that time. And then obviously with FaceTime, I mean, it's been a blessing. I'd be asked, hey, let's do a quick time for like 15 minutes. It's better to do that than not at all, because you're like, who are you? They only know you for only half the year, and then your wife or girlfriend, it's basically like, oh, well, we're half the year, or be married, or you're forced half the year. It's like, I mean, for our kids, I joke off, like, it's like we're divorced half the year. It's like I see you on the weekends. But I mean, you hate to say that, but I mean, it's a definitely unique business. Definitely would say it's tough to coach, but I feel it's even tougher being a wife of a coach, because you're literally married into, I hate to call it a single parent family, but to a degree it is. And like my wife is unbelievable for what she's done to help me through my career, take care of the business at home, and just make things roll.
Absolutely.
I mean, without them, we probably wouldn't be in football right now.
No, yeah, but yeah, it's about finding a strong woman, right, who can support you through all that. And it sounds like you have a fantastic situation there, Coach Rodriguez. So, man, I really do appreciate it. You got to tell me about the Lombardi Trophy. It's just sitting there on the shelf there in your game ball. What's that from?
All right. So the Lombardi, this is from the St. Louis Rams. So when we won it, we got a copy of it. Now, everyone always asks me that back in '99, they're like, Coach, how old are you? I'm like, I'm only 37. I'm like, well, you were definitely not playing or working. What did you do exactly? So long story short, my family has been in the NFL since 1953 with my grandfather, who used to own the Baltimore Colts.
Wow.
Who my grandmother was the former owner of the Rams up until 2008 from her past. So been in the NFL I was last one in the NFL until 2017 when I left to go to college. So just have a strong lineage with the league, been around football, been around many specialists, which going back talking about Wilkins, I mean, I used to kick with him. I kicked with him, kicked with Josh Brown, John Detta. He's funny. He showed me his pads. They're hockey pads. So he's like I'm not even trying to make a tackle. And you see my one bar, I'm taking an educated decision here. I'm going low. But just been blessed with just being able to be around a lot of great athletes to learn from them, from exposures, techniques, and so forth through the years. And the ball was from the 2016 net punt record that I was fortunately to be part of. That was the first year that we moved back to Los Angeles, and that year was nuts, as you probably saw in Hard Knocks. I have yet to watch it, mainly because I lived it.
Did you make some cameos in there?
I definitely had some cameos in there. They definitely had. I was the guy helping bring Fossil in on a surfboard. Team room. So that was part of the Jeopardy, where everyone's like, "Where's Fossil at?" And Fisher got a surfboard, and well, he's like, "How can I make a grand entrance? I got a top stage here, I have a lower here. How can I make entrance?" I'm like, how can you do crowd surfing? And with him surfing, like California surfing happened to be Coach Fisher has a Rams board in his desk he got when he moved to St. Louis to LA. And I'm like, okay, let's take the fin off. Fossil, hop on top on there, and we'll put you up top, and then you get carried down by the players, and he's like, I hope they don't drop me or anything. I'm like, well, let's just go and see how this works out, and it came out for the bang for the most part. But just that year when technically they never hired him an assistant, I was there helping him prior, just on the side, and he had me do a lot of things for him throughout the year. His assistant, who got elevated after training camp, gets let go. So then he calls me after London and says, "Hey, Will, go need help on Monday. So hope ready to go." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "I'll talk to you about it then, but just be ready to go." And I find out that I'm basically doing an assistant job basically the rest of the year. Then Fisher gets fired before the Seattle game, and I'm not know what's going on, and he's like, "Hey, Will, you might get airbed." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I live like 10 minutes out here." I'm like, "I've just been promoted to head coach. It's gonna be a long night." I'm like, "Okay, here we go. Call the wife. Let's get the airbed." I'm like, "I'm gonna be here." I didn't go home for probably about 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, because
so my family drove out to come see me today because we had a Seattle game on Thursday.
Wow. Who's the new special teams coordinator?
Oh, the Rams now?
Well, no. At that time, did he just still serve as a special teams coordinator and the head coach?
He did, but he gave me a lot more duties, a lot more tasks. Just that because now he's doing the special teams and the game plan as well as basically all the moving pieces as head coach. I know he had Coach McGinnis was outstanding as a head coach, helping him through the process, him being a former head coach himself. So I mean, it sounds like a lot of chaos, but it actually went smoother than people would think. It just was a lot more work than I was used to. Like, okay, I'm gonna enjoy the opportunity and we'll roll from this.
Wow, that's a great perspective.
But when you circle back to the culture part of that, you're thinking the Rams moved, we won 4 games, and we somehow got the net punt record in the NFL. That should not have happened because usually teams lose that coach, the whole team falters. But that shows you how strong of a man and the culture that's been in place since 2012 that the guys and worked the butt off for him.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. That's awesome, man. That's actually a really cool story too. Just sleeping in the office for 2 weeks, huh?
Literally on airbed, I'm like, I was literally, if you could have coffee in an IV, that I would have probably been on that thing, because I was drinking coffee like it was going out of style. But I mean, when you're trying to adjust in football to unique situations, you got to know how to adjust, stay as calm as possible, and just keep grinding. But when you love the game as much as we did, it's easy.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so exciting, right? Is you have different circumstances like that. So
Exactly.
well, it's been awesome, man. I've had such a great time, and you did so great, man. If anyone wants to follow you on any social media or get in contact with you, is there a way they can do that?
Yeah. I have a Twitter. I say that on. Remember the exact handle, because I hate to give wrong information. It's at Coach_Wilrod.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm sure the listeners will be reaching out to you guys. Man, that was a great time. I appreciate you for your time. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions you'd like asked or select guests coming up, follow and send us a message on Twitter and Instagram to Iceman_kicking or IcemanKicking@gmail.com. Be sure to follow us and turn notifications on YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud at Iceman Kicking Podcast, and rate and review us on Apple Music. This will be important as we will have giveaways going forward. Also, check out our TikTok under the same name for the best clips from these interviews. And tune in next week for another great Special Teams Mind. I'm Brett Arkelian, and for everyone at the Iceman Kicking Podcast, we hope you stay cool under pressure. Have a great week.